Welcome to my channel. My name is Nick, and whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. Saint Maud is a psychological horror drama written and directed by Rose Glass. Morfydd Clark stars as the title character, a young nurse who takes a job caring for a woman with cancer, played by Jennifer Ehle. Maud's newfound religious beliefs cause her to clash with her patient's rebellious nature, and tensions mount as Maud's obsession causes her to spiral out of control. Saint Maud played at festivals throughout 2019, and it was released overseas in 2020, but didn't make its way to the US until February 2021, and now in May 2021, I'm talking about it because I feel like it, because I love this movie, and now that it's conveniently available on both Hulu and Amazon Prime, I strongly encourage everyone to give it a watch. Let's just not talk about that whole epics ordeal, shall we? One thing I feel like I'll be commenting on for some time to come is the conversation within the horror community regarding A24 films, because they're very divisive, and if you don't like A24 horror, well, Saint Maud is about as A24 horror as it gets, so stay far away. But if you've been waiting for the next The Witch, well, it's already here. I remember seeing the trailer for this forever ago at this point, and last year when I made my top 10 list of most anticipated movies of 2020, I had Saint Maud at number 10 because I knew I'd love it, but I thought I had the whole story figured out. I was like, okay, crazy girl goes to isolated house to take care of this patient, and they disagree with one another. We spend a good hour dealing with them having contentious conversations where they challenge each other's beliefs, and it all leads to one big fight where Maud goes full villain and kills the supporting character. And, I mean, I mostly had it. That's kind of the bones of the movie. I'm that good. But that's mostly just the vibe of the first act. Rose Glass does such a great job of making this movie pop way more than you would expect it to. I went in thinking it was going to be some boring, stuffy British movie that's dark and barely horror. And that might still be the case for some of you out there, but I think this is an exceptional character study that becomes beautiful and brilliant in an emotionally powerful way. I do have to admit that I'm agnostic, leaning towards anti-religious, so I can't help but love the way that this movie attacks and thoroughly explores religious extremism. Morfydd Clark is everything in this movie. I hope to see her do a whole bunch of great stuff, but I think she'll always be Maud to me after bitch slapping me with this first impression. She does such a good job of building empathy for Maud, especially during the second act, so you understand this character as things go all the way off the rails for her. Like that scene at the bar, I was just like, oh my god, Maud, honey, come on. Let's get you a cab. Let's reel this in. I want to talk about Maud as a character for a second because she's so much more layered and complex than I was expecting. She's been through some shit, which has led her to become so religious in a way to sort of cleanse herself. However, she's really only pushing herself closer to madness. I was expecting a very childlike, repressed, quiet woman, but Maud has a fire in her that will not be put out. This movie has been compared by a lot of people to May, another great character study horror film. I love May. Everyone should watch it. It's the movie that got me into character study horror. But I don't see these two as sister characters, necessarily. May might have the body count, but Maud has some bite that in some scenes nearly had me gasping and fanning my face. Jennifer Ehle is absolutely perfect as Amanda. She is so great in supporting roles. She always does a great job of taking limited material and making it seem way more impactful than it might with another performer. And her talents are on great display here as she plays this fiery and bold woman who is being drained by an illness she can't fight. It's almost cruel the way that she befriends Maud throughout the film, yet you also see that she's just trying to enjoy the last of her days, even if some of that enjoyment comes at Maud's expense. Let's talk about the horror elements in this film, because I know a lot of people will not find this movie to be very horrifying, and chances are, if this movie isn't for you, then you're not even watching this video. The descent that this character takes, I just have to say, is a horror of the mind that I just can't help but find more and more fascinating the more movies I watch like this. Mental illness is a very serious issue that is finally starting to be talked about properly in a very generalized sense, and horror has often exploited mental illness to create over-the-top villains for the sake of selling a product. But Saint Maud explores one's unraveling mind in a way that shows they don't feel like they're slipping into hell, but ascending into heaven. One thing I always like to see in film, especially especially a good horror movie, is the possibility of multiple interpretations. When there's enough going on that different people can get different messages and themes out of it, well, I think that's great. Unless, of course, it's just, like a really sloppy movie and people are really reading into it. But in Saint Maud, there are multiple different cases to be made. You could say that Maud really does have this deep connection with God, and you can equally make the argument that she has this connection with the devil. But unlike a lot of other movies that I think are purposefully confusing to mindfuck the audience, I think the message is pretty clear here. I'm not going to fully spoil it, but I think the final frame of this film really tells you everything you need to know about what Rose Glass was trying to say with this movie. And that ending. Oh my god. Best ending in a horror film in recent years, in my opinion. I can imagine it being triggering for some, upsetting for others. You might think it ends with a whimper as opposed to a bang, but I feel like the way that all just came together with the character and the story managed to pack an emotional and thematic punch. Overall, I think Saint Maud is a genuine surprise, and I cannot wait to see what Rose Glass does next. If you like character study horror, this is a must watch. It's a great story with great acting and great execution. It's just great. For concept, I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5 because initially I didn't think it was very original, but the way that Rose Glass plays out the story was much more interesting than I was expecting. For execution, I have to give it a 5 out of 5. I thought Rose Glass perfectly brought her vision to screen in a way that works very well for me. For entertainment value, I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. No, it's not Jurassic Park, but Saint Maud is oddly rewatchable, which is another thing I wasn't expecting from it. For my official grade, I'm gonna give Saint Maud a 4 out of 5, and in my opinion, I think it's kicking off the 2020s to a great start with horror. What did you think of Saint Maud? Thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it as always. You can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd for more movie recommendations and to see more of what I'm watching. You should probably subscribe if you aren't already, and you just might want to turn on those notifications. That way you end up seeing my videos, because you're probably not. That's it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.